Assalamualaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for doing this.
It's very kind of you here. I love being here.
Thank you, sir. So this is usually how we go, is we start from the beginning and we usually ask, where were you born?
I was born in Karachi
Achha.
in 1953.
Oh, you've done this your age as well.
Yeah, I've gotten along all right.
And how was your childhood like? What kind of a kid were you? Were you very sharif? Were you very naughty?
Well, from what I hear, I was a naughty first, very naughty child actually. Always enjoyed a bunch of friends around, doing things that parents didn't really like, wanting to be out of the house, etc., etc. And yes, it was a beautiful memory of my childhood that I can remember. Early school, of course, lovely friends, and some of them are still my friends actually.
Mashallah. And like probably you're from the same generation where while you're in school you have to decide whether you want to be an engineer or take biology. So what was it that made you choose biology?
So interesting. So when I was growing up, it was drilled almost. You either became a doctor, or you became an engineer, or basically you became a pilot. In my case, my family had pilots, Air Force pilots. So it was just, I suppose, some people that had the privilege of their company, and there were doctors, and it was just that I enjoyed being in their company. That's how my parents also wanted me to be a doctor, particularly my mother. And my nana was a doctor. So I think that's how it came to be for me. Yeah.
And then where did you go and do your intermediate from?
I did my intermediate from a boarding school. It was called Kiret College, Hassan Abdal, because my father was in the Air Force. And the people who had families in the defense forces moved around a lot. Every 2 years they were posted here and there. So for a continuing good education, my parents decided that I go to a boarding school. At that time, Kiret College, Hassan Abdal was a good, very nice public school. It was
strict?
Great. It was very strict. Most of my class fellows actually went on to go and join the army. But there were only about 18 of us out of a class of 18 who opted to go into medicine.
What made you not opt to go to army?
I don't know. I actually failed the army test. It used to be called, it probably still is, ICCST. And I failed because I was told as a feedback that I was not a team player. It was very interesting. I wouldn't, obey commands, kind of just do it. I would probably rationalize it, something like that. That's what I remember vaguely at that time. So I was rejected for the army, which turned out to be good for me because I wanted to be a doctor anyway.
And then which med school did you go to?
I went to Dow Medical College.
And how was that experience, those 5 years?
That was fantastic. I mean, I was really one of the best times of my life. Great friends. There were serious studies in those times. We were about 250 students, boys and girls together, and some of the really keen and bright minds. And it's evidenced by the fact that my class fellows have done very well. Most of them were in very responsible, high-end positions in the medical world. A great time. We used to have lots of politics at that time, lots of fetes, lots of carnivals, and the mahal was excellent.
Amazing. And was it in med school that you knew that you were going to be a general surgeon, or?
No, I don't think so. But I can tell you one thing. There were two people as early as that time. I was in third year when I started my clinicals, and one of them was a professor here who was my mentor. I was truly smitten by his style, his approach to medicine, his total dedication. Mushtaq Ahmed, who later on came and joined here and became my boss also. And the other one was a very famous person, a great surgeon, an amazing human being, Professor Fazle Ilahi. He was very senior. You might not have been even born at
I've
that
heard of
time.
him, yeah.
So his kindness, his empathy, his amazing foresight, the way he taught was really inspiring. So yeah, I could say that I decided to follow surgery or be a surgeon somewhere around that time, that point in my life.
And once you were done with your med school, where did life take you then?
So I did my house job here. One was in Fazle Ilahi's unit, where Professor Mushtaq was I think at that time he was an assistant professor. And then I went on to the UK, and I stayed there for about 12 years. Did some rotations and trainings, did my FRCS. And about that time, when I was thinking whether I'd stay back and all that, Professor Muazzam, Professor Mushtaq, they somehow got wind that I was in England. I was invited to meet them here, and it's history from there on. I joined AKUH at that point in time.
So coming back, do you regret coming back?
Zero. Absolutely not. I know it got my favorite political leader into hot waters by saying that. No way. I think you make your choices, you stick by them, and you get what you get, and you don't get upset, as they say. So no, never. I'm happy. I made the right call. My children lived here. They were born abroad, but they were here, did their schooling, then went outside to do their education and kind of settled there. But my wife, very happy that we made the call.
Okay. And so these days we hear things like work-life balance. Probably पहले भी आपके ज़माने में भी होता होगा, मगर not a lot of people talked about it. So what is your take on work-life balance?
तो हमारे ज़माने में you are absolutely right. I do not remember कि work-life balance used to be on the radar at all, because I remember जब हम इंग्लैंड में ट्रेन कर रहे थे, quite commonly 80 hours a week was not a big deal. 2 या 3, we used to be senior house officers, like residents here, and then like registrars, 2 या 3 consultants there, and there used to be a long on-call periods and everything we did. So 80 hours was not unusual. यहाँ आने के बाद, actually मेरे लिए it was a fantastic reprieve, because hospital was new, patients were in low volume, so I had a great time. But as things picked up and we became very busy over the years, so the first 30, 40 years of your life, 30, 40 years of your age and 10, 15 years of your professional life, you realize that you're so immersed in work and you're so neglectful of your young family and your wife, so that relationship, I think, takes a blow, and it's not nice. Now that you grow older, you become wise, you realize you've reached a level, you have time, so all those things come back and you start giving sermons and lectures to others. So really it's not, in my mind, it's not really a sermon or a lecture. I tell every young person, and I love them because I have a son and 2 sons and a daughter who are literally about your age, and I always tell them, this is a time you must pay attention to your family. You must have a meal at least once a day. The work-life balance is important. You must have a chat within yourselves in a small group of close friends. Get out of your workplace, nature ko enjoy karo, chat, just talk about good things in life, bad things in life, whatever you need to sort out, and so on and so forth. I think it's vital. I agree with you.
And you've talked about Dr. Mushtaq and all your mentors. How important is it to have a mentor, and how can one be a good mentor?
I think it's vital. I personally think that one of the sad emerging situation happening with the kind of emigration of a lot of young people is that our generation and maybe a generation younger to us may have just given up on the role of being good mentors. And it's become so hectic in life for everybody and so many distractions that maybe we're not paying attention to it. But I think mentors are very important. In my life, they had a huge influence. My parents, my mother, my father, their mannerisms, the way they dealt with us, that's being a great mentor. Whatever you learn in a good household with good values, that's what being a mentor is about, you know. And then your teachers, I went to the boarding school, and some of the teachers that I had over there were actually replacement parents. They taught you values, they taught you respect, they taught you how to draw from the wisdom of your older generation, and your teachers were such. I mean, one of the signs of that is that some of my teachers now 40, 45 years or more, that era, remember my name, they know what I'm doing, and sometimes I speak to them. So it's fascinating, overwhelming. There has to be that kind of relationship between young persons and older generation. So I strongly believe in mentorship. And a good mentor, I think, is a person who can definitely draw on his life experiences, the good that it has done in their nurturing and in your nurturing, that is, and then just be able to tell and display to the younger people how important it is to have values, to have honesty, integrity, respect for each other, particularly for families, for people's dignity and their rights. It's so important that we forget.
Do you think there's with the new generation coming up, they have different mindset as compared to what even I feel that, and then your generation before us. So how do you think we can reduce this gap between generations?
So it's cliche to blame social media for that, and I don't agree with that. I mean, of course, it has its own highs and lows, bads and good stuff. I think the gap can definitely be reduced by mingling and meeting and having interactions outside of the workplace, because workplace is not a desirable surrounding where you can have these kinds of interactions, but outside of workplace. So the older generation must develop circumstances where the younger, they all meet as one, and preferably with families, and actually have retreats or timeouts together, in places where they can all get together and enjoy it. I think that's a very good way of transferring values and spirits and systems.
One last question. If you were to give a message to all the residents or all the people listening to you, what would be that one message?
One message would be, never give up. There is a huge world out there. They're yearning for your services. You will never fail. If you want to get something, you will get it. Trust me, you will.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.